There we go. If Zoom ever loads my slides, then yes, we'll have the meeting. Okay, there we go. Slideshow from the beginning. Can you all see that? Perfect. Alrighty, let's get started. So, hello everyone. Today's our first workshop of the semester, January 21st, 2025, and we are in our second semester of workshops. So the agenda for today. So of course, right now, introduction, small icebreaker, some quick, just if you have any questions or you need to review some of the rules and regulations of NASEP workshops, let us know. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about funding your education, scholarships, FAFSA, all the works. And once we're done with that, we're going to review how to write a paper, kind of heading towards that kind of big final stage of your projects. Then the project and science fair check-in, talk about some of that stuff. And then finally, at the very end, there will be time for workshopping for those of you that need a little extra help on your projects. So first and foremost, how was winter break? If you want to unmute, talk, raise your hand, type in the chat. How'd you guys' winter break go? Did you enjoy it? Eat a lot of good food? Get a lot of rest? I know I did a whole lot of nothing, so. Plus, well, I did a whole lot of nothing in the beginning, and then like January 1st, I was back to it, even though I was still on break. So you know how it is. Feel free to type in the chat if you don't want to speak out loud. And while you're all doing that, what you can do is you can put an emotion next to your name on Zoom. Pick an emotion that best describes how you're feeling so far about school. So, for example, you could, mine will say Sam and excited. It's my last semester of my master's degree, and I'm really excited to finish it up and present my abstract. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Carol is half busy, half restful. Yeah, that sounds about right. Cody is relieved. I think so too, Cody. I think we're finally on the final stretch. So I'm a little excited about that. Let's see. We have from Washington. Break was great. Lots of family. Always the best. Then we have my winter break from Ben. My winter break went pretty well, but sadly no snow up here in Oregon. Really? Wow. That's surprising. And then my break was relaxing. I didn't do much. And I think Kendall Washington, is that I guess that's maybe probably what was happening there. And then it was okay. Okay. It was okay, I guess. That must be some new slang term that I'm extremely unfamiliar with. Okay. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad everyone had at least a restful break. All right. So before we get into the funding of education, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about the general kind of layout of the meetings, how we do things? Just if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. We'll address it. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started, but I'll give like a minute for anyone to raise their hand or type something. In the meantime, just as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute and talk. Raise your hand on Zoom. There's a feature you can do that. You can also just turn on your camera and like wave or something like that, and people, Carol, Cody, or Rudy will let me know. But otherwise, we can just kind of go as normal. All right. So funding your education, something that is very crucial to undergraduate and graduate education, and something that we all are going to have to deal with at some point. So the first thing I want to talk about is FAFSA. So FAFSA is, you've all probably all heard of it. And I just got that message, Washington. I think Kendall is who that is. I'm not sure. But I just got that message. It's good that your mom is on you about doing your FAFSA. It's good to hear. Keep it up. It is the, I don't know exactly what the acronym stands for, but I do know that it is a federal program that is designed to help students who need help get help financially. So just information here, some basic updates about the federal deadlines. So it would be due June 30th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. CT. And then any corrections to that file will be due the same time, September 14th, 2025. And then I put some resources here, kind of the main websites that you guys can access when you're looking for FAFSA information. And then a really important note that Kel reminded me of earlier is each university will have its own deadline for FAFSA. Each university will also have its own due date to fill out the special circumstances form, which can make a really big difference. So it is my understanding that FAFSA, that most universities will have a priority deadline, and then we'll have the regular federal deadline. And then of course, if you want to look it up, all you have to do is go online and just kind of University of Arizona FAFSA deadline, or University of Florida, whatever, wherever it is you want to go to. And then the FAFSA, thank you, Carol, stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. If you're being asked to pay the FAFSA, it is most definitely the incorrect website. You will never be prompted to pay for anything. And there are ways to do it with your parents for free, very simple, easy ways. So yeah, you never have to worry about paying for FAFSA.
And Sam, I'll just mention that the common one is that folks will go to FAFSA.com. And FAFSA.com, you're going to find that there's some people there that want to help you fill out this free form, and they're going to charge you for it.
Yes.
Yes. So FAFSA.com is one that people oftentimes kind of come upon and then find that they're being charged, while FAFSA.gov should get the students, if I'm not mistaken, to the appropriate free website.
Yes, thank you, Rudy, for pointing that out. And that's a very good point, because I remember when I did my FAFSA for the first time back in my senior year of high school going into college, we had that problem. And we didn't, and there are people there, and I'm sure that if you want to spend money on that, you can hire someone to help you out. But that does cost money. So FAFSA.gov again, and then the link is right here, studentaid.gov/apply for FAFSA. And it looks like we got a message from Madeline. I already did my FAFSA. Some high schools like mine offer incentives to complete it alongside external groups offering things like gift cards and stuff. You just got to look. Yeah, that's a great point. My high school did the same thing. You would get X amount of extra credit points for doing your FAFSA. No matter what your socioeconomic status was, they just wanted everyone to do it. So yeah, that's a really good point, Madeline. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and watch some 3 videos that I found very, very useful, and they were updated and uploaded, I think, just past year in 2024. I think actually they may have been uploaded even in this past month alone, but they're really good videos, and I think I wanted to show you guys kind of this really important information. So, Carol, I want to make sure that I also have the ability to share sound. Would you mind reminding me how to do that? Oh, here it is. I got it. Okay, now let's see if it works.
That works now.
The 4th stop in your financial aid journey is to gather the information and documents.
Okay, good. And I'm trying to see if I can make this bigger for all of you, but I don't know if it's possible to do it.
You'll need to fill out the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA form.
I'm sure that's fine.
Having these documents on hand can help you complete the form accurately and avoid any potential delays. You'll need your Social Security number if you have one, and your parents' Social Security number if they have one, if you are a dependent student. Here's a tip. You can ask Aiden, our virtual assistant, for help along the way. To access Aiden, select the owl icon in the bottom right-hand corner of any page on studentaid.gov. You can also select the tooltips icon on the online form for explanations and more details. When completing the FAFSA form, you and your contributors will be required to provide consent and approval to have federal tax information transferred directly from the IRS into your form. If consent and approval is not provided, you will not be eligible for federal student aid. It's also good to gather other important documents and information for you and your contributors, just in case you need to enter any information manually. This may include tax returns, records of child support received, current balances of cash, savings and checking accounts, net worth of investments, business and farms, plus the name, date of birth, social security number if they have one, and email addresses for each contributor you invite to your FAFSA form. You now know all the documents and information you'll need to complete the FAFSA form. When it's time to start your FAFSA form, use this as your guide so you can submit your form as soon as possible to apply for student aid. For additional
All right, yeah, so that's kind of the basic premise there. The documents you might need to be able to fill out the FAFSA quicker. All right, and then here's another one about creating and accessing your account.
information and answers to your questions, visit studentaid.gov. The third stop in your financial aid journey is to create a studentaid.gov account, which is needed to apply for, receive, and manage your federal student aid online. We recommend that you create your studentaid.gov account at least 3 days before you start the free application for federal student aid or FAFSA form. Some things that you may be able to do with a studentaid.gov account include completing the FAFSA form online, signing your master promissory note to receive federal student loans, exploring repayment plans, and using resources like loan counseling and the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Help Tool. To create a studentaid.gov account, you'll need to enter your Social Security number. Contributors who don't have a Social Security number can create a studentaid.gov account to fill out and sign their required sections of the FAFSA form. However, as a student, be aware that you can't create an account and complete the online FAFSA form for yourself, or be eligible for federal student aid if you don't have a Social Security number, unless you are a citizen of one of the freely associated states. In addition to the student, each contributor must create their own studentaid.gov account and have their own verified email address associated with that account. Sharing accounts, even between family members, is never allowed. This means that if you're the parent of a dependent student, you will have to create your own studentaid.gov account to sign your child's FAFSA form online. Once you've created your account, avoid sharing your account username or password with anyone, including your family members. It's important for you to remember your account credentials. Here are some common issues that users encounter with their studentaid.gov account and how you can solve them. If you forget your password, select Forgot My Password and follow steps on screen to reset it. If you forget your username, you can log in using a verified mobile phone number or email address. If you can't use your verified mobile phone number or email address, select Forgot My Username on the login page. You can use your Authenticator app or answer your challenge questions to retrieve it. If your account is locked, use your verified mobile phone, email, Authenticator app, or challenge questions to unlock it. You'll need to follow the prompts on screen, including providing your date of birth and create a new password. If you no longer have access to any two-step verification methods, use the backup code that was issued to you when you created your account. You now have everything you need to create and access your studentaid.gov account. To continue preparing for the FAFSA form, check out our next video.
All right, and then we have one more, which is just kind of one of the more useful ones, just starting the form.
Completing the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA form, is important to be able to receive federal student aid. We're here to help you understand the steps you'll take to complete and submit your form. To start filling out the online FAFSA form, go to fafsa.gov. There, you can select Login to Start to begin. You'll enter your username and password to log into your studentaid.gov account. Remember, you will need to have your own studentaid.gov account in order to access and complete your sections of the online FAFSA form. After logging in, you'll select the appropriate role to fill out the FAFSA form. If you're applying for federal student aid for yourself, make sure you select Student. The next pages will help you understand the FAFSA form and process. You'll watch an overview video and learn details about who contributors are on the FAFSA form, what documents you may need to complete the form, what to expect when completing the form, and what happens after you submit the FAFSA form. As a reminder, your parents, step-parent, or spouse may be identified as contributors on your FAFSA form. You may be instructed to invite them to your form and they will need their own studentaid.gov accounts to access the FAFSA form and complete their required sections. Without required information, consent and approval to transfer federal tax information, and a signature from all contributors, including you, your FAFSA form won't be considered complete. After you complete your review of all the onboarding information provided, you can select Start FAFSA Form. You'll be taken to the Student Identity Information page, where you'll verify your personal details, including your name, date of birth, social security number if you have one, email address, and mobile phone number. If any of the information is incorrect, you'll need to access your account settings on studentaid.gov to update it. On the next page of the FAFSA form, you'll provide your state of legal residence and the month and year that you became a resident there. Next, you'll review a page that details the terms and conditions of providing consent and approval on the FAFSA form. Providing this consent and approval is required to be eligible for federal student aid. To learn more about what you'll be agreeing to, watch our What Does It Mean to Provide Consent and Approval on the FAFSA form video.
Alrighty. Just some quick guides on the FAFSA, kind of the more important aspects of the FAFSA. All right. Oopsies. Let's click that. Goodness. Okay.
Video in this playlist to learn what documents you'll need.
There we go. Okay. So a little piece of information for you all. So there will be a FAFSA workshop. So Native Forward is having a FAFSA workshop on Thursday, January 23rd at 12 p.m. So at noontime. And then there's the register link. So when we send this out to everyone, you'll have the ability to sign up. And also I will include this link in a reminder email after our meeting today. But I think if any of you are interested, definitely worth doing. And that would be this Thursday, the 23rd at 12 p.m. noon. All right, so now I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about those videos? What did you learn? Were they helpful? And do you have any other questions? Or if you've already done the FAFSA, do you have any advice, any pieces of advice for anybody? I know someone had mentioned something earlier. I think, oh yeah, Madeline had mentioned about, asking about your school. Do your school counselors have any incentives? You can always ask them for help. But if anyone has any questions, or if any, Carol, Cody, Rudy, if any of you have any advice for FAFSA, now would be a good time to share it with the group. One of the things that I remember doing that was a huge, huge help. Oh, Carol just said, Native Forward will be raffling off. Oops, like a million messages just popped up. Oh, and it looks like I just lost it. Oh, there it is. Native Forward will be raffling off a $50 gift card to attendees. So if you do attend, there's a chance you get a $50 gift card. So that's more of an incentive. And then let's see, Danae says, it was very helpful, especially since I didn't know some of these when I did my FAFSA alone. Right, exactly. And doing them alone can be rather difficult. And then Washington asks, how long does it take to get back the aid assignments? So good, that's a good point. I don't exactly remember how long it took me, but it took, usually I would hear back right at the beginning of the summertime. So if I did my FAFSA, let's say in March, let's say, I would get back how much they were going to give me, usually at the beginning of the summer. So in June. Now, one of the things that I found to be extremely, extremely helpful was if you didn't get back a financial package that you thought was sufficient or realistic based on your living standards, you can do what's called a special circumstances form. Now, the U of A has their own version of this, and every university has their own version of it. I went from getting essentially $0 to getting several $1,000s in grants because I did the special circumstances form. My parents were in a really weird situation financially, and their jobs were kind of on and off. They're both teachers. So what they reported in their tax forms wasn't necessarily, didn't necessarily reflect how we were actually doing financially. And there's 4 of us siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. So, that's a lot of people to feed, right? So one of the things that I did myself was fill out that form, My parents signed off. We sent extra documents, and they completely changed my plan. So if any of you find yourselves in that situation where you think, it kind of seems like the FAFSA isn't quite as fair as I thought it would be, consider the special circumstances form. Each university has their own version of that. And let's see what we have here. Madeline says it took about 20 minutes to do. Ben has already completed the FAFSA. He already knew a bunch. And Madeline says, the longest part on your end is creating an account. So once you get it, it's very quick, especially if you don't have any, if you don't have many specials. Yeah, that's right, Madeline. The new FAFSA is very quick. Back when I was in high school, my first year of applying to college, it took like an hour to do with my parents, but now it's really quick. So that's a good point. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for the input. I love the cooperation.
Hey, Sam. I think, did you answer this already? Kendall asked how long it takes to get the financial aid assignments.
Yeah, I said I don't know exactly how long it takes, but in my experience, I would usually do it in late February, early March, and I would usually hear back in June. Usually it takes a couple of months to get back, but I would usually hear back in June after finishing the school year. But it depends. I know a lot of my friends got it back in July, or even towards the beginning of August, but I don't know the exact timeline.
Yes, and I think to do it sooner than later will also make sure that you get back sooner.
That's true. So I know, again, kind of like I mentioned earlier, there's a priority deadline that each university has. Definitely do it before then because you will get it back faster. So yeah, that's a big one.
For Kendall, who I think is potentially the person who had asked the question too. One thing you'll want to do is just double check the status of your FAFSA.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, students will let us know that they've completed their FAFSA, but then and they'll tell us like, but we haven't heard back from anybody just yet. If that's the case, then sometimes we'll have them go back and they'll find out that they're actually that the federal government is waiting on like some additional piece of information from you or your family. So it's good to kind of follow up on it to just see what the status is. And of course, when you complete the FAFSA, you have to identify what colleges and universities you want to have access to your FAFSA. I could have in my heart, like want the U of A to have it send me a financial aid package, but there's two things that have to happen in order for financial aid at the University of Arizona to send me a financial aid package. One, I have to designate the school, and two, I also have to apply to the University of Arizona. If I just put the school code down for the University of Arizona and I haven't applied for admission, the University of Arizona won't have a good reason to send me a financial aid package. They instead will wait. They'll see that, Rudy's applied to the University of Arizona and he's been admitted. Let's send him a financial aid package now so that he can have that information to consider as he's making his final decision about college. So we have to kind of tell the FAFSA what schools we want to receive our information. And the second thing is that we also have to be applying for admission at those schools so that the school knows that you didn't just put it down for the FAFSA, that you're actually interested in potentially being admitted and having some of their financial aid.
Yes, thank you, Rudy. Very good point. And I remember when I was an undergraduate student, I would get recurring messages every like beginning of spring semester from the university saying, hey, here's our individual priority deadline, get it done before then. Here's our school code, include it on the form, all that stuff. And that ensured that you would get a package much, much faster. So yes, thank you, Rudy. That's a big important thing to say. All righty, it looks like someone said something. Let me give a quick look-see. Is it only for seniors or can juniors also open a FAFSA account early? I think you can open one early. I don't think you can apply until you start applying for undergraduate programs at universities. I think that's how that works. And your parents will also create an account as well, their own accounts. And
Yeah.
again, like in the video, oh, sorry, go ahead, Rudy.
So just to verify that, yeah, the only time that you should be typically for most students, you apply for the FAFSA during your senior year of high school. Every once in a while, students may be involved in a summer program, and that summer program, in order to kind of bring down the cost of the program for its students, sometimes will have you fill out the FAFSA form to see if you qualify for need-based aid. So it's usually only if you're doing like, it's usually only for your senior year. And then every once in a while, if you do like a summer program at the university, they may also ask you to complete one.
Yep, that very good point. Thank you, Rudy. I remember that there was a program that I was invited to at Stanford when I was a junior, and they had mentioned you can fill out a FAFSA form for the summer program, and here's the specific code for the the whole thing. But yes, that's one exception I have seen. Alrighty, cool. Thanks, guys. So the next section of the presentation for today. Oh, a little bit more. Where can you find scholarships? So Scholarship Universe. So in order to access this website, you must be admitted as a U of A student, and this includes, of course, incoming freshmen. I will say this past year, Scholarship Universe was fantastic for me. I used it, found 2 scholarships. What you can do is really cool. You can put in your age, your ethnicity, your background, your experiences in high school, all kinds of information that basically tailor the search engine to find scholarships for you. So, for example, I was offered a scholarship through Scholarship Universe to apply to one this past year. And the requirements were be in public health, which is my master's program, have a psychology undergraduate degree, which I did, and come from a local Arizona high school, which I did. So I applied to that scholarship, and I ended up getting it. So if you just put in all your different kind of information, it will literally send you, and I mean hundreds of possible scholarships to look through. So it's a really cool website, and it is for admitted students. And then, of course, you can always do a quick Google search with different keywords. So Native American scholarships, American Indian scholarships, electric engineering scholarships for students of color, whatever it may be, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have some more kind of universal ones. So the free scholarship search engine, such as FastWeb, Scholarly, scholarships.com, et cetera. There are hundreds of them. And then our very own NASEP website under resources, and then click on scholarships. And I'll quickly jump to the bottom here. For University of Arizona students who have been in an EAO program, including NASEP, we have the Marsha Morgan Scholarship. Now, Carol or Rudy, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the Marsha Morgans? I don't know too much about that scholarship.
Sure. So the Marshall Morgan Scholarship is a scholarship that was established by family members of a person who is named Marsha Morgan. And we've been very fortunate that that family, the Morgan family, has Michael, Rayanne, and their daughter, whose name is escaping me right now, but they established this scholarship for a family member who kind of um, who lost their life relatively early, and they were looking to find a way to have an impact, and they decided to give money towards early academic outreach here at the University of Arizona at our office. And they said they were impressed by students such as yourselves that have participated in out of school, like after school programs, or participated in summer programs, participated in academic year initiatives, parent outreach, but they were looking for students who were really involved over a period of time, not just for kind of one-day events. And so they established a scholarship that only students who've participated in our programs can apply for. And so usually we sometimes struggle to find folks to apply for these scholarships. So what does that mean? That means that you can apply to the scholarship and be in a very small pool of candidates considered for the scholarship. And so that's a great opportunity there. It's like playing the lottery, but only a few people are playing or have a chance to win. In this way, it's kind of your odds are greater, but you've got to still apply for the scholarship. So in the Zoom, I'll go ahead, as long as it hasn't been placed already, I'll go ahead and put a link to our website, and that website link is going to show you what questions you'll have to answer in order to apply for that scholarship. This scholarship also is similar to the FAFSA in that you would apply for it during your senior year of high school.
Mhm.
So any students who are applying to colleges and universities right now or have applied to the University of Arizona, because this scholarship in particular is for the University of Arizona. So if you're thinking about coming here, this might be a great scholarship for you to fill out the Marsha Morgan scholarship.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Rudy.
Yep.
And then it looks like Madeline has some more advice. So if anyone here has family that's going to take the PSAT, please apply for the National Merit Scholarship. Very good rewards for non-seniors that should be taken advantage of before being a high school senior. Good point. If I remember correctly, if you're in Arizona, we also have something called the Flynn Scholarship, where I think one of the I think I'm not sure if it's quite true, but I know it's related to the PSAT score. But I know the National Merit Scholarship is really, really, really good. So if you're a junior and you get a fantastic score on your PSAT, getting that National Merit Scholarship will help you a lot in your undergraduate career. Let's see, there's a lot of cool stuff people are putting in the chat. Yeah, okay. So the Flynn is separate, but I know it is an Arizona-based scholarship. And then Cody has sent us the American Indian College Fund. There's the link there. There's the Cobell Scholarship. There's a link there. And the Native Forward Scholarship. And there it is there too. All the links as well. And then Rudy just sent a link. I believe it's called Ask Benji. And I think I've seen that before, which can help families complete FAFSA. So yes, thank you again for that, Rudy. So lots of good resources from your colleagues in the chat today. Very good, very good. Alrighty. So, yeah, just to kind of to keep going, there are other places that you can find scholarships, local organizations, and foundations in your state or city or where you go to school. Again, speaking of Scholarship Universe, there was a scholarship that this year that was posted by, gosh, I think it's Chicanos por la Causa. I think Carol, did you get one of those as well? The Chicanos por la Causa? No, you don't think so? I remember that both you and I did get something because we had our names were on the list, and I was there at the dinner. But my scholarship was actually through Chicanos por la Causa, which is an organization I think that is definitely present in Arizona and I think other states as well, that helps young Chicano students and in many cases Native American students as well get extra funding. And then again from Madeline, scholarships.com is also good. It's free to sign up, and it emails you deadlines for specialized scholarships. And from Carol, hers was from the Mestkov scholarship. So that's the public health college here at the U of A. So yeah, there are plenty of resources. Okay, next slide.
I don't know if this one's been shared, and again, only if it's helpful. So let me see. I was gonna mention the believe that this is the correct one. The Arizona Native Scholars Grant. And so this is a grant that can support Indigenous students from, I believe, the 20 that are registered with the 22 federally recognized tribes within Arizona. And this helps to support students with costs that might go above, like if the student has a gap between their scholarships and the total cost of tuition, then this grant can come in and help to support that. And it looks like um, there's an opportunities channel in Slack that Carol is mentioning. That's great for sharing scholarship resources between our cohort participants. Share any good scholarships you come across there as well. Yeah, that's awesome. And again, our thanks to everybody who's kind of sharing resources right now.
Yep, awesome. Thanks, guys. That's really good stuff. And thank you again, Rudy. Endless links, endless opportunities. Very good. Okay, so I think we can go on to our next slide. Oh yeah, and then this is a really good strategy that I've used in the past too. If you want to organize your scholarships and your applications to the scholarships, what you can do is you can create an Excel sheet or a Google, I think it's called Google Tables, just whatever it is in Google Drive, the equivalent to Excel, where you can basically have the dates of the scholarships open, the due date, the name of the award, and then the link. If any of you want to do this, you can do it on an iPad, a phone, a computer, whatever it may be. It's a really useful way to kind of organize all your scholarships. And also, you can do this for deciding which colleges you want to apply to. So if you're a junior and you're thinking, oh, you know, I have X amount of schools in mind, here's a good way to organize it, as well as your scholarships. Alrighty. So now on to our more science project part of the workshop. So research paper prep. So I know we're heading towards that stage now in our research projects, or at least beginning as we apply to different science fairs. So let's go ahead and get started. We went over this a little bit a couple of times last semester as well, but kind of just as a kind of a global refresher here a little bit. So drafting the paper. So choose a format. Most universities and science fairs will require or prefer what's known as APA format. Now, APA is the American Psychological Association, and essentially the way that they format their research papers is kind of the favored way in academia right now. They also have like Chicago, they have MLA, all the different versions, but as far as I know, APA is the most commonly accepted one. And I'll show you a little bit right now about how that's supposed to look. And so ideally, you will want a minimum of 5 pages, and ordinarily a maximum at the very extreme of around 40 pages. All of this will be double spaced when you submit. I've seen very few papers reach 40, but some will reach maybe 10 or 15, but it is possible. You will want to include all the relevant photographs, graphs, tables, diagrams, charts, and other representations of your data and the project. And if any of you are interested in submitting your research papers to actual journals after the science fairs, you'll have the ability to upload the manuscript, the written rough draft, separately from the graphics. So there's no confusion. It's a really cool way of doing it. So let's keep going here. Yep, so quick tips. So the title page, APA requires a title page. So it basically states the student name, the school name and address, and the title of the paper. And there's some variation within that. Of course, acknowledgements. You're going to want acknowledgements in your paper. And usually that goes at the very end of the paper or at the very beginning. I've been taught to put my acknowledgements at the very end of the paper, but it depends on the publisher, the science fair, or the format. And then, of course, you will need to require some sort of statement relating to the IRB approval in some way. So here's an example. Research involving non-human vertebrates or human subjects was conducted under the supervision of an experienced teacher or researcher and followed state and federal regulatory guidance applicable to the humane and ethical conduct of such research. I know that's a mouthful, but every single paper I've ever read has some version of this. And depending on your university IRB, your school IRB, your science fair IRB, whatever that is, you're going to have some statement like that in your paper. We have a chat. Can you go back to slide 12? I sure can. All right. I'll leave it there for a couple seconds if you want to screenshot or just kind of write it down just so you can see what you're looking for. And it looks like somebody else also said something. Okay, there we go. Good. All right, here we go. So here is an example of a cover page in APA format. So we have centered right on the middle of the paper, double spaced. Ordinarily, they require Times New Roman, but they're kind of changing that all the time. And then, of course, 12, size font 12. Sorry, someone is texting my cell phone. Font 12, Times New Roman. The title will have the correct uppercase letters, bolded and centered, 1-inch margins. So we have, for example, the effects of pollution, an Arctic environmental study by Colin Kay, Department of Biology, Dominion University. And then the ENVR is the name of the class, 121 Dynamic Earth. The professor is Dr. Catherine Hashimoto, and it was written on February 1st, 2020. So this is just an example of how you would write your cover page as well. And then, of course, more tips for writing a paper. So just kind of a review, right? You will need a table of contents, an introduction, materials and methods, results, a discussion and conclusion of course, the results, references, and then finally, some science fairs and some papers will require an appendix or appendices. And essentially what that is it's a place where you can go and kind of find other references. You can find like, for example, if you read through a paper and you see like a little subscript or a superscript, like 1 or 2, and you go down to the appendix, you'll see all the tables down there and kind of information like that. So it's part of the references section of your paper. Let's see, okay. And then here we have an example. Here, I'll stop my share real quick. I'm going to show you guys an example of a paper that I wrote that I'm familiar with, and I can kind of point out the different places where I kind of included the required information. Okay, sorry, I'm on a different computer than normal, so everything's a little bit slower. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. All right, OSD, where are you? Okay, can you all see the paper?
Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, so this paper was written by a huge nerd. His name is Sam Rodriguez. And so this is my first paper, published paper, but I think I was, like you guys, in a huge learning state before I published this. My faculty mentor and I sat down and spent literally hours trying to figure out the right way to do this. And so the learning process really never ends. So as you can see, you have the title, some words, then you have all the different authors on the paper. You have the DOI, which again, I don't think you guys will have to worry about this quite yet, but you might, again, depending on the fair and the journals you want to publish to. Some journals in the future when you're in college will require what's called a highlight section. And so you just add like 2 or 3 things that was really interesting in the paper. In this particular paper, we studied political affiliation and vaccine uptake in Tucson, Arizona. So we just gave the most eye-catching pieces of information. And then of course we have the abstract. Now we've mentioned the abstract before in our workshops. And essentially what the abstract is, it's if you took the paper and you took each section and you wrote a summary of each section and put it into a little mini paper. So we have the introduction, the methods, the results, and the conclusions. And then of course, keywords, which is usually required when you upload to online journals: vaccine hesitancy, COVID-19, health disparities, blah, 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 the things that were related to this paper specifically. So once you have all that out of the way, then you can get, and then the table of contents will be here on the left on the outline. You can see this here. Most online journals will do it for you, but if you're doing a fully written like document, you're going to have to do your own table of contents. But then here we have the introduction. And if you guys can see here, I think for the purposes of most of the science fairs that I've seen, they're going to want you to put some sort of like bracket with reference 1, reference 2, reference 3, or last name, year published. That always depends. APA format allows for both of those. So here we have the introduction, and again, it's super long. We have methods. So we have the study site and location, where you did it, who you did it with, ethics and consent. Going back to that thing a couple of slides ago, this study received an IRB exempt status from the IRB, blah, 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 all that stuff. Here's an example of that right here. Who was in the study? Who participated? And all the information right there. How did we measure the information? Did we use surveys? Did we use a water test kit? Did we use a math professor to help us out? You know, whatever you use to measure your data, you want to put that in your methods. And then, of course, the data analysis. How did you analyze the data? Did you use Qualtrics? Did you use Stata? Did you use basic algebraic methods? There's, you know, whatever you used to analyze your data, you're going to want to have a section specifically for that. And then, of course, results. What were the results of your study? In this particular section, make sure not to add opinions or extra deliberation. You want to save that for the discussion part. In this part specifically, it's just what were your numbers literally. And then, of course, occasionally you'll have a table. And I would imagine those of you that are using numbers are definitely going to have tables in your papers. So then there's kind of more of the information right there. And I'll just keep scrolling. A lot of information there. And then finally, the discussion. So after you kind of review all of the data, all of the results, then you discuss what those results imply. What do they mean? What do they mean about the past? What do they mean about the future? What are you going to do about it in the future? So just talking about the different ideas you have as a researcher. What was the experience like? What can you do about it? You know, why do you think the results were the way that they were? Stuff like that. And then finally, kind of the ends and, you know, the ending stuff that we talked about earlier, the funding and support, the role of the sponsor. Ordinarily in situations like this where you have multiple reviewers, or multiple authors, you have the authorship contribution, interests, acknowledgements, and then of course the appendix at the bottom and the references. So that's kind of the basic way you guys can do it. And again, the specific requirements and regulations will depend on which science fairs you apply to. But it will also depend on the journal you apply to. All right, so that was the end of my PowerPoint slide presentation. We did have extra time for any questions. If any of you want help on your projects, we can do that now. If you have questions about applying to and registering for science fairs, we can do that as well. Carol, I know you sent me an email just yesterday about a big science fair that just opened up the registration dates. Which one was that?
SARSEF.
SARSEF? Yes, it was. Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for the group. Let me see if I can just find it here. 1 million emails. Yes. So project registration is open for the 2025 SARSEF fair. So yeah. And of course, we sent you guys the links to all of those websites. Back in December, I sent you guys a reminder email with all the different kind of upcoming fairs that we had knowledge of, the link to register, the link to other information and all that stuff. And I might consider sending that out again in another email so you all can review that. But just so we all know, SARSEF is open for registration. Okay, so let's see. We have about 10 people, and I guess we could do 3 breakout rooms. How does that sound? Would you guys like to do breakout rooms to kind of address any questions or concerns about projects, getting things done? Do we want to do breakout rooms? I think that's a good idea. What do you think? Carol, you want to set that up?
Yes, I can.
Is it okay if you break me up with one of you guys, because I still need to figure out what my project is? Like, I have base ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get it clarified and start moving on working on it.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. The breakout rooms, there's going to be one like adult person-ish that's going to help you. So each room is going to have one of us advisors.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think Carol's creating them right now.
I don't think I need to be in a breakout room because Kendall's on her iPhone.
Who was that just then?
Washington.
Oh, okay. Are you Kendall's?
I'm Kendall's mom. I was just listening in for the fast food
okay.
part of it, so I don't think I need to be in a breakout room.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, good to know. Yeah. As long as she's with one of us, we're good.